Mile marker 46. The desert shift Mark Danner, a 35-year-old gas station clerk, worked nights at a lonely outpost along Highway 93 in Arizona. A stretch locals called the Dead Mile. It was surrounded by nothing but desert scrub and mountains silhouetted by the moon. The hum of a flickering fluorescent sign was his only company. Every night at 2:14 a.m., the station's motion lights clicked on for no reason. The cameras showed no movement, just static. On this particular night, the air felt different. The temperature dropped fast, like the heat had been sucked out of the desert. Mark stepped outside to smoke. In the distance, a single pair of headlights appeared, cutting through the sandstorm haze. The car pulled up slow, engine silent. No one stepped out. He took a cautious step forward. The driver's seat was empty, but the engine was still running. The passenger Mark leaned in through the open window of the idling car, an old red Pontiac with cracked leather seats. The keys were in the ignition, but the radio was tuned to static, the kind that seemed to whisper under the hiss. Then he noticed something in the back seat, a child's car seat. Inside it sat a faded teddy bear, its eyes missing. The bear's fur was stiff with something dark. Mark stepped back uneasy. He went inside and checked the station's security feed. The car was still parked outside, but the timestamp on the screen read 2:14 a.m., exactly when the lights always triggered. He rewound the tape. On playback, the car didn't drive in at all. It just appeared. Then a faint sound echoed from the store's back room, like a door creaking open. Mark froze. He was alone, or at least he had been. The tape's heart pounding, Mark grabbed the flashlight and moved toward the back room. The door was half open, light flickering from inside. Shelves lined with old oil cans and paper towels stretched into the dark. He noticed an old VHS tape sitting on a desk labeled Mile Marker 46, Do Not Erase. Curiosity overrode fear. He slid it into the dusty player that hung beneath the counter. The screen buzzed, showing grainy black and white footage, the same gas station years ago. In the footage, a man, a younger clerk, was talking to someone outside the door. The timestamp read 2:14 a.m. Then the man screamed. The camera jolted. For a split second, a shape appeared in the reflection of the glass, something tall, faceless, with long fingers pressed against the window. The tape cut out. Outside, the Pontiac's headlights suddenly turned off. The call Mark snatched the landline and dialed 911. Static filled the receiver. Then a voice crackled through, his own voice. Mark Danner, don't open the door. He dropped the phone, backing away as the store lights flickered violently. The automatic doors hissed open on their own. Cold air rushed in, thick with the metallic smell of gasoline. The Pontiac was gone. In its place, deep tire marks led toward the desert, ending abruptly at the edge of the asphalt. Mark grabbed his jacket, ready to bolt when the radio switched on again. This time there was no static. A child's voice whispered through the speaker, "Daddy, come get me." He turned toward the windows and saw the teddy bear from the car seat sitting on the counter. Its head turned toward him. The figure in the sand panicking, Mark ran outside, flashlight beam slicing through the thick desert dust. The air buzzed with electricity. He followed the tire marks until his light caught movement, a shape half buried in the sand near mile marker 46. It was the Pontiac. Burned, rusted, covered in desert grime, it looked decades old. The car door hung open, and inside lay the same teddy bear untouched. Mark's breathing quickened. Then he saw the reflection in the side mirror, a shadow standing behind him. He spun around, but there was nothing. Just the sound of footsteps circling in the sand, getting faster, closer. He backed up to the car, fumbling for his flashlight. When he turned it on, it illuminated something behind the windshield. A face. Not human. It was smooth, featureless, and smiling. The lost station. When state police stopped at the gas station the next morning, they found the lights still on and the register drawer open. Mark Danner's truck was parked out back, keys still in the ignition. But there was no sign of him anywhere. The last security recording cut off at 2:14 a.m., the camera frozen on an empty desert road. Locals say if you drive past mile marker 46 after midnight, you might see a gas station glowing faintly in the distance, even though it's been closed for years. Some travelers stop thinking it's open. They swear they meet a friendly clerk named Mark who offers free gas. But those who take it never make it to the next town. Their cars are later found abandoned, engines still running, headlights pointed toward nothing but sand. The man at exit 109. The graveyard shift Caleb Ross, a 42-year-old ex-trucker, ran the night shift at a small chevron off exit 109, just outside Bruton, Alabama. The gas station sat between miles of pine forest and a forgotten cemetery from the 1800s. Most nights were quiet, a few late travelers, the hum of the old Coke machine and the faint chirp of crickets beyond the fluorescent lights. Around 2 a.m., a storm rolled in, heavy thunder, wind whipping through the trees. Caleb was refilling coffee when he saw someone walking down the highway. A man drenched, clothes torn, moving like he didn't feel the rain. The figure stopped under the overhang and just stood there, staring through the glass. His eyes looked wrong, pale, almost milky. Caleb opened the door halfway and called out, "You okay, buddy?" The man didn't answer. He just smiled, slow and crooked. The missing driver. The stranger walked inside without speaking, leaving wet footprints across the tile. He wore a trucker cap with faded letters, Tanner Haulage Co. Caleb gestured toward the coffee pot. "You lost out there?" he asked. The man just stared, then finally whispered, "You seen my rig?" Caleb frowned. "No trucks came by tonight." The man blinked slowly. "That's what they said last time." Before Caleb could respond, a loud thud echoed outside, metal scraping on asphalt. He ran to the door and saw headlights flashing in the rain, coming from the lot next door. But when he got there was nothing, just tire tracks that led halfway across the gravel and then stopped, like the truck had vanished mid-drive. When he turned back toward the station, the man was gone, and the floor where he'd stood was bone dry. The license plate uneasy, Caleb checked the security cameras. The feed showed him talking to the man, but the stranger's reflection didn't appear on any monitor. Just Caleb standing alone, talking to thin air. He rewound again, hands shaking, and froze on a frame. The man's hat had slipped up slightly. Underneath, his scalp was burned, blackened like melted rubber. Lightning flashed outside. Caleb grabbed his jacket and stepped into the rain to clear his head. That's when his flashlight caught something half buried in the mud near the pump, a metal plate. He pulled it free. It was a scorched license plate, numbers barely visible through the soot. TNR 666. A sharp hiss filled the air, like air brakes releasing. Then through the storm he saw them. Faint red taillights glowing deep in the trees, slowly backing up toward the road. The CB radio back inside, Caleb locked the doors and grabbed his old CB radio, a leftover habit from his trucking days. Static filled the airwaves, then a voice crackled through. "Breaker 19, anyone out there? This is Tanner, I'm off exit 109, need some help." Caleb froze. "Tanner, what's your handle?" The voice came again, quieter. "Truck's gone cold, can't find the road." Lightning flashed again, illuminating the gas station windows. In that flash, Caleb saw a shadow outside, tall, broad, and not moving despite the rain pelting down. "Stay put, I'll come get you," Caleb said into the mic. They pause. Then the voice replied, "You already did." The power cut out. The station went black, and from the dark came the slow creak of the front door swinging open. The fire-line Caleb grabbed his flashlight and edged toward the door. The beam trembled in his hand. The man stood there again, dripping, skin pale under the flickering light of the emergency sign. Behind him, the rain had stopped completely. The air was still. "You shouldn't have called me," the man said. His voice was distorted, deep, like it echoed through metal. "I just wanted to help," Caleb stammered. The man smiled. "You already did once." He stepped aside and Caleb saw it. A burned-out semi-truck parked by Pump 2, flames frozen mid-flicker, trapped in time. Inside the cab, 2 skeletons sat slumped in their seats. One wore Caleb's old Tanner haulage uniform. He turned to run, but the door had vanished. The walls were now twisted metal, melted, the floor blackened like tar. Exit 109, when the morning crew arrived, they found the gas station's front door wide open. The lights were flickering, coffee pot burned dry. Caleb's truck was parked out back, door open, keys still inside. No one ever found him. Sheriff Dalton checked the security footage, but most of it was static, except for a single frame at 214A. It showed a semi-truck idling at Pump 2, smoke pouring from the hood, and a man waving from the driver's window. The strange part? The timestamp on the footage was June 4th, 1987. The same night a Tanner haulage truck had exploded at that very gas station, killing the driver instantly. To this day, travelers say if you stop at exit 109 after midnight, you might hear a man's voice over your CB radio. He only asks one thing: "You see my rig?" Pump 6. The road to Glacier Hannah Lewis, a 29-year-old travel nurse, was driving through rural Montana, heading toward Glacier National Park for her new assignment. Her gas gauge dipped below empty, and the next exit sign read Twin Elk Station, 2 miles. The highway was eerily empty, mountains rising dark against the moonlight. The gas station looked like something out of another time. Wooden siding, neon sign buzzing weakly, a row of pumps that hadn't been updated since the 80s. Inside, the store was quiet except for the hum of an old refrigerator. No clerk, no music, just a faint smell of gasoline and dust. She called out, "Hello?" No answer. Then from outside she heard the pump click on by itself, Pump 6, even though she hadn't paid or swiped her card. The old metal handle swayed gently. Someone, or something, had already started filling her tank. The photograph uneasy, Hannah went back outside. The air was sharp and cold, her breath fogging under the flickering light. The pump's display spun slowly, numbers rising, but no gas was flowing into her car. The nozzle hung mid-air, hose taut as if being held by invisible hands. She stumbled back, heart pounding. That's when she noticed a faded bulletin board by the door. Local news and missing persons. Her eyes froze on one photo, a young woman standing beside a red SUV, the same make and color as hers. The caption read, "Missing Hannah Lewis, last seen near Twin Elk Station, March 2021. Her mouth went dry. That was her name, her face, her car, but it was dated 4 years ago. Behind her, the pump clicked off. Then a soft voice whispered from the fog, "Been a while." Hannah, the station keeper. The voice came from an old man standing by the door, tall, wiry, wearing a blue mechanic's jumpsuit with the name Ed stitched on the chest. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said softly. Hannah forced a nervous laugh. "Yeah, I'm just passing through." He smiled faintly. "You said that last time too." Something about the way he said it made her skin crawl. She turned back toward her car, but the headlights flickered out. "Can I use your phone?" she asked. He nodded toward the counter inside. "Right there. Line's clean tonight." She stepped in. The rotary phone looked ancient, but she lifted the receiver anyway. A woman's voice answered, a soft shaking. "Don't trust him. Who is this?" Hannah whispered. Static filled the line. Then faintly, "You're me." The line went dead. The power goes out. The lights flickered, then the entire station went black. Only her car's interior light remained, glowing faintly through the fog. "Ed?" she called out. No answer. She grabbed her phone, no signal. Her flashlight beam danced across the shelves, catching on something shiny. Dozens of ID cards lay scattered across the counter, driver's licenses all belonging to women. Same age, similar faces, each one listed missing, last seen near Twin Elk. The front door creaked open. Heavy footsteps shuffled closer. "Leave the light off," Ed's voice murmured. She ducked behind the counter, trembling. Through the glass, she saw him standing near her car, head tilted, smiling at something she couldn't see. Then she noticed the gas hose wasn't connected to her tank anymore. It led into the open trunk, and it was still pumping. The burning field Hannah bolted from the station, sprinting across the gravel lot. The smell of gasoline filled the air. Her flashlight flickered across the field behind the pumps. Dozens of cars half buried in dirt and weeds, their windows blackened. She turned to see Ed standing by her car holding a lighter. "Can't leave the pump running, Hannah," he said with a grin. "Don't!" she screamed. But his hand twitched, click. The flame ignited, but instead of an explosion, the world seemed to warp. The gas shimmered in the air, glowing blue, and the station lights blinked back on. She looked around, the cars were gone. The pumps brand new, the store spotless, Her car sat perfectly fine by pump 6, and Ed was nowhere to be seen. A car horn honked, another traveler pulling in. But when the driver looked at her, they screamed. There was no reflection in her eyes. The endless shift days later, a Montana State Patrol officer pulled up to Twin Elk Station after a report of strange lights. The place looked normal enough: stocked shelves, clean floors, and a young woman behind the counter, wearing a blue attendant's shirt. She smiled politely. "Evening, officer." "Need gas?" he nodded. "Just passing through." "Quiet night?" "Always is," she said softly. The officer filled up and left, noting how friendly the clerk had been. When he mentioned her to a local deputy, the man frowned. "That station's been closed for years," he said. "Attendant died in a fire back in 2021. Name was Hannah Lewis." Later that night, a driver passing through saw lights flickering at Twin Elk again. A woman stood by pump 6, waving at him to stop. When he pulled over, she smiled. "Need some gas?" Graveyard shift. The midnight shift at Red Mesa. Gaston Riker, a 33-year-old ex-trucker, worked the midnight shift at Red Mesa Gas and Mart, a lonely stop along Highway 89, deep in the Arizona desert. The nearest town was 30 miles away, and most nights all he heard was the low hum of the freezer and the rattle of wind against the glass. He liked it that way, a quiet, predictable, but lately something felt off. Every night around 2:17 a.m., the motion sensor by pump 3 would ding, like someone was out there. Tom would check the cameras, but the monitor showed nothing. Just empty sand and the dark stretch of highway. He brushed it off as faulty wiring. But tonight, as he restocked the fridge, the bell dinged again, twice. When he looked outside, he saw a figure standing beside pump 3, perfectly still under the buzzing light. The man in the hat. Tom squinted through the window. The figure wore a wide-brimmed hat, his head tilted down like he was staring at the ground. Tom stepped outside, flashlight in hand. "Sir, we're closed. You need gas?" The man didn't respond. He just raised his head slightly, pale face, no eyes. Just empty black sockets reflecting the station's light. Tom stumbled back, blinking. When he looked again, the figure was gone. The desert was silent, only wind and distant crickets. Shaken, Tom checked the security footage, frame by frame. The timestamp showed the same scene, but where the man had been, there was only static. Then something else. In the corner of the screen, faint but visible, a dusty pickup truck pulling in, lights off. Tom looked up from the monitor. The sound of tires on gravel came from outside. The truck with no driver. Tom rushed to the window. A rusted 70s Ford pickup idled by pump 3, headlights dim. The engine sputtered, then steadied, but there was no one inside. The driver's door swung open on its own, creaking slowly. Tom grabbed the phone, tried to call his boss. No dial tone. The line was dead. Suddenly, the radio behind the counter crackled to life, though he hadn't turned it on. A man's voice spoke through the static, deep, gravelly. "Don't go outside, Tom." He froze. The voice knew his name. Then came another sound, a low, rhythmic knocking from the storage room in back. Knock, knock, knock. He turned the flashlight toward the door. The knocks matched his heartbeat, steady, human. But when he opened the door, no one was there. Only a trail of wet footprints leading out into the desert. The desert whispers. Tom followed the footprints cautiously. The night air was sharp, dry and buzzing with heat even after midnight. The trail led past the gas pumps, across the gravel and into the open desert. He heard whispers carried by the wind, words he couldn't make out, voices overlapping like radio static. Then faintly, "Pump 3, help me." It was a woman's voice, desperate, fading in and out. Tom turned back toward the station and froze. The pickup truck was gone. The lights inside the store flickered violently, and the front door slammed shut. The open 24 hours sign went dark. He sprinted back, pounding on the glass, yelling. Inside, the lights blinked in a strange rhythm. 3 flashes, pause, 3 flashes again. That's when he realized it was Morse code. He looked it up on his phone flashlight app. It spelled one word: run. The return of pump 3. Tom bolted across the lot, but as he reached his car, the gas pump clicked on by itself. Pump 3. The hose lifted, snake-like, hissing gas onto the pavement. The air grew thick with the sharp smell of fuel. He reached for the nozzle, but the handle jerked from his hand, ceased spraying wildly. The same faceless man from earlier now stood beside the pump, hat low, hand extended as if controlling it. Tom shouted, "What do you want from me?" The man tilted his head. In a distorted voice he said, "Fill her up." Then, with a sudden flash, flames erupted across the ground. The heat surged, engulfing the station. Tom dropped, covering his face. But when the fire cleared, the pumps were untouched. The station looked exactly as it had before. Only the clock on the wall now read 2:17 a.m. again, and the bell dinged twice. The endless night days later, travelers reported strange sightings along Highway 89. The Red Mesa gas station glowing faintly under the desert moon. Though it had been shut down since 1997 after a fatal explosion, police records showed the name of the last attendant. Thomas Riker, deceased, body never recovered. Truckers passing by late at night sometimes saw the lights flicker on and the pumps start running. They'd hear a voice through the static of their radios. "Pump 3's ready. Don't stay long." Locals said if you stop there after midnight, you'll see Tom standing at the window, face burned, waving you in. And if you make the mistake of getting out, you'll hear the bell ding twice. And the last thing you'll ever see is a man in a wide-brimmed hat waiting for you by Pump 3. The man who never left. The last stop on Route 52, it was almost midnight when Rachel McCoy, a college student driving home to Charleston, pulled into a crumbling gas station off Route 52 in the hills of West Virginia. The sign flickered weakly. Gas, snacks, beer, and the parking lot was swallowed by fog. Inside, a single fluorescent bulb buzzed above dusty aisles. The attendant, a frail man in a faded cap, sat behind the counter, staring at the static on a small TV. Rachel smiled nervously. "Hey, do you take card?" He didn't answer, just nodded and pointed to Pump 2. Something about him felt off. His clothes looked decades old, his skin almost translucent. As she pumped gas, the fog thickened and the air grew colder. Then, from inside the car, her phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "Don't talk to the man inside." The voice on the phone, Rachel, froze. The gas pump clicked, full. She stared at the screen. No name, no number. Just those 7 words. When she looked back at the station, the man was still there, motionless behind the counter. Her instincts screamed to leave, but curiosity pinned her in place. She went back inside, pretending nothing happened. "Do you know if there's a motel nearby?" she asked. The man finally spoke, voice hoarse like rusted metal. "Only one place open this late. But you won't make it." Rachel blinked. Excuse me?" He turned his head slightly, and under the harsh light she saw something horrifying. A dark hole where his ear should have been, edges burned black. The radio on the counter crackled. A voice came through, her own voice. It whispered, "Get out." Rachel backed toward the door, heart pounding. Then the lights went out. The dark station. The only light now came from her phone's glow. The static-filled TV hissed softly. Rachel called out, "Sir? You okay?" No answer. Just the low hum of silence pressing in from all sides. She turned her flashlight toward the counter. The chair was empty. Behind her, the front door creaked open, slow as a sigh. Rachel spun. No one. The fog outside had turned thick like smoke, swirling unnaturally. Then from the aisles behind her came a faint dragging sound, something being pulled across the floor. She whispered, "Who's there?" The dragging stopped. A voice answered from the darkness, calm and low, "I told you. Don't come inside." Her light caught a shadow ducking behind the shelf, tall, human-shaped, but twisted. When she ran for the exit, the door slammed shut on its own, sealing her in. The photos on the wall, Rachel's breathing came in short gasps as she searched for another way out. In the back corner of the store, she found a narrow hallway leading to the restroom and a dusty, employees-only door. She pushed it open. The walls inside were covered in photographs, hundreds of them, yellowed and curling. Each photo showed a different person standing by the gas pumps, smiling. But every single face had been scratched out. In the corner of one photo, Rachel spotted something familiar, her own car parked by Pump 2. The date scribbled beneath it read, October 25th, 2024. Her stomach dropped. Then she noticed a Polaroid camera still on the desk, aimed at the front window, where her car sat right now. She picked it up with shaking hands. The display read, "Image captured. But she hadn't taken any picture. Someone or something had. The thing wearing his face. Rachel bolted toward the front, slamming open the door to the store. The fog had thinned, but the attendant was back behind the counter, standing perfectly still. Only now his face looked different. It was too smooth, like stretched plastic. His eyes blinked out of sync, and his mouth didn't quite fit when he smiled. "You weren't supposed to stay," he rasped. Rachel grabbed her keys and sprinted to her car. As she started the engine, the radio turned on by itself. The same static voice as before. "You'll never leave Route 52. She sped down the road, heart slamming, headlights cutting through fog. But every mile looked the same. The same signs, the same curve, the same glowing gas station reappearing ahead. She was looping, and the man was always standing by Pump 2, watching her drive by. The eternal customer days later, a sheriff found her car abandoned near Route 52, engine running, doors open, no trace of Rachel. Locals say the old gas station burned down back in 1983, after a lightning strike killed the owner, a man named Earl Watson, who was working the night shift. They said his body was never found, just a charred hat and melted name tag by Pump 2. Truckers who pass the area at night still see a faint glow through the fog. If you stop there, sometimes a young woman comes running out of the woods, banging on your window, screaming for help. But the moment you open the door, she vanishes. And when you look back at the station window, there's always someone standing behind the glass. Sometimes it's the attendant, sometimes it's you.